Welcome back to the Scott Hepler Football Channel. Thank you for joining me. First of all, I'd like to just explain a little bit about what's going on with the channel. I know I said I'd post a couple videos a week. So after I posted my intro video, I was on vacation out of town for a couple weeks, and then I did have a video put together to preview the Liverpool game. But apparently, I'm still learning a lot of this stuff. I didn't get all the video recorded. So as I went to go and do all my editing and such, got to the end of the video, missing a little bit of it. So decided not to post a incomplete video, I guess. So going forward, I'll still plan on doing a couple videos a week, 2 to 3 a week, depending on my schedule and what I can get accomplished. And I just would appreciate your patience and pray for me to learn better, and learn from my mistakes. So with that being said, I'd like to welcome you to the first post-match ponderings, and we're going to be talking about the game that just ended, the Brighton Tottenham game that occurred. Brighton won 1-0. So got a lot to unpack here a little bit. This is going to be a pretty brief video. I'm not going to get into player ratings and such. This is just going to be pretty much my initial thoughts on the game, some of the situations, and what happened. So as far as league position, that does leave Spurs still in 6th place. We've obviously had trouble gaining points here the last week or week and a half. We've had plenty of opportunity and just have not gotten the job done. Brighton, with the win, they remain in 17th place, but it pushes them farther ahead of the relegation teams. So it's a big win for them. So good for Brighton, good for them. Honestly, to put it plainly, they were just the better team today. I think there's a lot of issues that Tottenham had, and we're going to kind of talk about that now. So we're going to ponder upon this. This is going to be my little thing with my segments, is ponder upon this. So we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Good? There just wasn't much to it today. Not a lot to see that happened that was positive from any aspect of the game. One of the biggest things I did kind of take from it is Bergwijn, I think, played pretty good game. He played the entire game, even when he got slotted into that central midfield, attacking midfield position. He played pretty good there. So I think he's the only bright spot myself. He worked hard. He had some good opportunities where he tried to make some nice plays and link up with people, but it just was not happening. So of all the good things that could have happened, there's only that I see. Well, and the fact that the game ended. It needed to be done. We were not progressing in any positive manner throughout that entire game. So just getting the thing over with and done, and getting us to move on to the next match, looking forward and looking how to fix these things. We needed to get done. So those are the good things. The bad. Our passing was atrocious today. I think we found Brighton players as many times as we found Spurs players. The passing was very inaccurate. It's weak passing, it seems like. It seems like there's no energy or pace to the ball as it's being passed. A lot of the balls that are being received by the players are trickling out. There's no energy left in the ball for them to do something with. So what do they do with it? They just, by the time they get it, a person's on them. There's no urgency in the passing that we utilize. And in our passing too, we're not making the passes fast enough. So it allows them to cut off lanes and things. There's a number of opportunities I think we had where we could have cut them a little bit and put them in a precarious situation, but we just didn't do it. We're not fast enough. We're not either thinking fast enough, or it's not working. Whatever we're doing here, we look very lethargic out there in our passing. Um, the other bad thing, the entire first half was devoid of any offensive ability. And I'm going to talk about that a little more. I think it had a large part to do with the formation that Mourinho set up, but we couldn't do anything offensively in the first half. It just was atrocious. The fact that we had, one shot in the entire first half, it's not just because Kane's not there. We have the talent, at least within the players that were there, to do something about it. And it just was not happening. So I think that's a big issue. Is what are we going to do going forward with Kane out for anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks, if not more, depending on how severe the injury is. No one's still sure at this point. But what are we going to do going forward to be creative in a different way? The one thing I think Mourinho did right, or to start the game, was not move Son in the middle. Son is best when he's out on the flank. It's just been proven time and time again. We tried pushing him in there last year when Kane got hurt. He wasn't as effective. So if he would have moved Son into the middle, I feel that would have been taking a positive and turning it into a negative, because Son's just not that person. He's a good player. He's always going to do very well, work hard, no matter where you put him. But our best opportunity to get the best out of him is out on that wing. And so I think that's going to be definitely something that we need to figure out going forward. Who's going to play that Kane spot? Vinicius. I personally think Bale should be thrown in there. But that's me. Bergwijn can play the hold-up role a little bit. He's a pretty strong guy. He's just not that big. He can get pushed around a little bit. So I just don't know where we're going to get the play that we need up front. Mourinho obviously doesn't trust Vinicius in some manner or form, because even when he's had opportunities to play Vinicius, he's played Kane. Or when he's had opportunities to bring Vinicius in to give Kane a little rest, he's let Kane sit on the field. So I don't know what his deal is with Vinicius. It was his guy. He wanted him in. He needs to figure it out. So that leads us to the ugly. And oh my gosh, is there ever a lot of ugly? I'm going to start off with the formation. I think Jose botched it completely. If he didn't learn his lesson from the Liverpool game about putting 3 in the back and only having 2 real midfielders, and how that devastates our midfield, this ought to definitely make it apparent for him. Ndombele and Højbjerg cannot hold up the midfield all by themselves. The entire first half. And this is where I think a lot of our offensive ineptness came from, was the fact that we were playing a 3-4-3 with only two midfielders that were always 20-30 yards behind the forwards. They never could get up their support. They could never get up there and actually draw defenders to them. So the 3 offensive guys, Bale, Bergwijn, and Son, were constantly up against 4 to 6 defenders by themselves all the time. It's no wonder we didn't do anything in the first half offensively. And we showed that somewhat in the Liverpool game. And the only reason I think we had a little bit of success early on in the Liverpool game is because Liverpool plays a more wide open game. Brighton, they'll play 4 or 5 guys at the back and really pack that midfield too. So they were playing like a very tight back line with a 2-2-1. So they had a solid center midfield and then a strong back line. And we just couldn't do anything against it because we only had 2 midfielders. And they're just not going to do it against those guys. And we definitely don't have the strongest options at wing back right now to be playing a 3 center back defense. So I think just Jose completely set us up to fail in this game. And I'm sure he's going to say that the players didn't do what he wanted to, and that's not what he wanted them to do, and he wanted them to press, and he says that all the time. They're playing how he is putting across the message. That's just the fact at this point in time. They continue to play the same. We continue to play the same way, time after time after time. At some point, it's the manager's fault. It's his responsibility to get the message across and get the players on board with what he's doing. And throughout that whole first half, that three center back defense that we had continually had holes in our channels. They were knifing through us left and right. Brighton, who sets up defense first and then worries about offense. Brighton, who has struggled to score goals the entire season, was cutting through us like butter. It was bad. We should never use that center back defense again. The lineup, I kind of alluded to that. That was a terrible lineup. I do like that we brought Bell in. I think he should have been our center forward. One, because he's bigger than Bergwijn. He can do a little bit of hold-up play, but he's also not going to have to worry about tracking back as much. So with that in mind, he's not going to wear down. This is his first start in forever in the Premier League. You just set him up to fail to be on the wing. Or you're just setting him up saying, you're playing a half and that's it, you're done. I mean, if you want to get the most out of him, keep him in there. Let him become part of the game. Set Bergwijn back on the wing. Let him do that tracking back. Bergwijn was doing the tracking back as the center forward half the time. It just didn't make any sense. It was terrible setup. And then again, because we don't have the wing backs to run a three center back defense, we're exposed all the time. Especially in that middle, we're just completely exposed. If we would have had a 4-2-3-1 like we usually run, we would have had a more solid middle. We could have run Musa in the midfield with Ndombele and Hepler, allowed Ndombele to be that creative force up front, just behind the forwards, and wouldn't have had that 20-30 yard gap between midfield and the forwards the entire first half. It was just a terrible setup, terrible lineup, at least the way he aligned the players, in my opinion. And then the subs, oh my gosh. Ndombele, because he was having to run so much of the midfield, he was gassed after the first half. He did absolutely nothing in the second half. Kind of like the Liverpool game. He wore out in that first half because of the formation. Ndombele again, wore out, couldn't do much with it. Even when we got into more of our normal setup, the 4-2-3-1, he was just dead-legged. Song looks tired. We have so many guys that look tired on this team. I think Jose's ran our frontline players into the dirt because of his fear of putting in other players. And I get it. There is a bit of a discrepancy between many of our starters and the backups. There is. But that's a problem. But he's still got to work around that. You can't just run our frontline players into the dirt. They're going to get hurt. Case in point, Liverpool game, Kane. I kind of put that injury on Jose. There's been many opportunities that Kane could have been rested in the past few weeks, and Jose hasn't done it. Don't know why, but I got to put it on him, because the same thing happened last season. He wore Kane out, and we didn't have an option last season. So this season, we did. We have Vinicius. So there's no excuse this time for Jose not to at least get Kane some rest. And then the other sub, I think Son should have been subbed out instead of Bell. Son just looked tired. His touches were very inaccurate. He seemed just very dead-legged out there. He works hard. He's never going to quit on us. You love to have him out there. But I don't want to see him get hurt again like last year too, just like Kane. Once Kane got hurt last year, he leaned even harder on Son, then Son got hurt. So he was out for a period of time. I think Kane's going to break this, or not Kane, excuse me. I think Jose's going to break this team if he continues managing it the way he is. I'm very frustrated. When going into the Liverpool game, I was very excited for our opportunities. I thought we had a chance going into that Liverpool game to actually make a push at the Premier League Championship. That is no longer the case. We're going to be fighting for 4th or 5th if we're lucky at the way we're going. We just don't have the horses in the stables. All our top flight players are hurt or on the verge of being hurt because they're getting wore down so much. And I thought we were going to have a huge run of games over the next 5 games, counting that Liverpool game forward, that I thought we'd be able to pick up 12 out of 15 points. Heck, now our next 5 games, Tottenham, against Chelsea, West Brom, Man City, West Ham, and Burnley. I don't even feel comfortable about any of those that will get a win for sure. Even when you're looking at West Brom and Burnley. I mean, the way we're playing right now, we're like a sieve in the middle and in the back, and we don't know what side of the field our offense is supposed to be on. So, just to wrap up, very concerned, very frustrated, especially when just, a few days ago thought, oh gosh, we can maybe push for the Premier League Championship this season. But now it's, gosh, we're going to be holding on for the skin of our teeth. And we have a consistent history of also tailing off at the end of seasons. So for us to even stay top 10, I think is going to be a challenge. There's so many teams right now that are within just 7 or 8 points of the top 5 or 4. There's just so many teams we're going to have to battle. It's going to be a brutal, brutal fight. But let me know what you think. Press the like button if you like this video, and just put your comments in there. Please be respectful of everyone, and let's get this thing turned around. Come on, you Spurs.